Hi, hello, wherever you're joining us from, wherever you are, both in your mind, body, and spirit. Welcome and thank you for being with us today. Welcome to the Oracle Speaks. It's our 7th episode today. Yay! We're very excited about that. And we have 3 hosts this time, or 4 hosts this time. We've got Aarti, you can wave, Akanksha, and Devanjali. And I'm Rosh. And we have Puchki, who's our guardian angel, not on screen. He's probably barking and we can't hear him. And just quickly about the format, we'll do 3 big, it's divided into 3 big sections. We start with an astrological update. So really checking in with the skies on what is happening, what are the stars telling us, where are they shining bright, where is there darkness, and what is that inviting us to do. And then we move a little bit lower and we come into a sort of messages from the tarot. So just picking up another paradigm, another knowledge system, and seeing, we pick a deck and we're seeing what kind of messages, what kind of pictorial visual messages are coming through. And we try and connect it all down to really what's happening in the world, what's happening in our 3D world, how is this manifesting in our physical bodies, how are we feeling all of this happening in a community. And then we open it up to really sharing, with the participants on what if that resonated with you, and also if you have any practices that you're following in these times that you want to share to really help us all really thrive during these transits.
The reason why we created this podcast and a lot of the work that we offer is to create this bridge between the old world where things are breaking and structures are crumbling and there are very scary pieces of information being revealed that are causing so much uncertainty and shakiness, not only in our economy and the outside world, but also within us, in our bodies, and therefore our health is getting affected. And this is happening around the world to many of us. And how can we, while knowing that, hold each other's hand, find that ability to hold ourselves through the discomfort, understand that this uncertainty may be here to stay for some time, for a few years maybe. It's going to be what it is. And how can we resource ourselves? How can we be the beacons of light that we seek externally? So that is really the intention of this space. And yes, I can tell you the glimmer of hope that we promise is this, that we're in this together and that we may not fully understand why or what we're doing here, but through us, through our day-to-day life, through our very existence, healing and positivity is being transmuted and emitted. Yeah. So that's the little bit that I want to share.
The big transits, what's happening in the skies and the stars. So, everyone's been talking and buzzing or trying not to talk about the big eclipse that's happening tomorrow, as if it's the only eclipse that's ever happened and will be happening. So I think to take a little bit of a collective breath and to remind ourselves it is a big eclipse, but it is not the only eclipse we're going to experience in our lives. And we all have each other around. The fact that we have this privilege of knowing that this is happening to us, whether as information, but also for a lot of us as beautiful knowledge in our body that, hey, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but something's going on. So yes, 16th of May for most of us. Some parts of the world might experience this on 15th of May. We do have a full lunar eclipse in Scorpio. We're right now in Taurus. And if you look at the zodiac chart, Taurus and Scorpio sit opposite. So there is a lot of pull. They're both right now, this lunar eclipse will both happen at 25 degrees. Interestingly, a little bit of math, Saturn, which is another very heavy planet, a planet of discernment, of restrictions, of rules, is in Aquarius, a very interesting placement for it, in 25 degrees as well. So there's a lot of squaring happening. So if you're feeling tight, if you're feeling like a lot of pressure on you, this is where it's really coming up from. There is something happening there where the pressure and the tightness is coming. And also it's really coming up is that a lot of people are feeling, a lot of the people I've been speaking to are saying, I'm feeling like something's ending. I feel like I want to let go of something. I just don't know what that is. I know I want to let go of something. I know it's moving through me and it needs to come out, but I don't know what it is. And so it's what we call like it's an analysis paralysis, where you're constantly trying to, you feel this responsibility, particularly I think because we're in Taurus, around finances and around big decisions to do with career changes, to how we look at abundance, particularly money, how we relate to savings, how we relate to investments, how we relate to planning for future. All of this is really happening right now, and we're feeling a lot of responsibility that we must do something. But also on the other side, we feel a lot of paralysis, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of overwhelm of like, I want to do something, but I just don't know what to do it. It's okay. I just want to say it's okay. This tightness is coming from that. It really is coming from what's happening, but know that this is the ending. And wherever, whichever part of your thoughts, whichever part of your head your thoughts are going to, that is the area where a huge cure will happen. Because we're in Scorpio right now. Scorpio loves death. It loves endings. And the endings it's talking about is emotions, right? Scorpio is an underwater creature. So deep, deep, deep sort of ideas around, say, our finances, our savings, our abundance that are karmic to us, that have been passed down from generations, that we don't know why we can't let go of it. So why can't I get over it? So all of this clearing is happening. Don't expect it to happen when the moon is just hidden, because these things take time. Some eclipse cycles are 6 months, some are about a year. So it's not that you have to do anything about it. You just have to take care of your body right now for the next few days, because this cycle started a long time ago. Actually, it started in 2003. That was the very beginning. That's exactly when this full lunar eclipse was happening in Scorpio in 2003, 13th of May. So we've had all this time. So, and you have been doing the work. If you're feeling it, means that you've been doing the things, you've been in touch with your intuition, you've been paying attention to your thought. You don't have to do anything. Trust me. I know it feels like we have to do something to push it out. The baby will come out on its own. Just it'll happen. Like, let it happen. The nature has its own divine timelines. We just have to breathe through it. And I know it's really hard. Just breathe through it. So remember, big things. There is a big ending coming. It's going to be things that are very emotionally tied. So, it'll be at a much, much deeper level, and you will look back at it in a month and be like, oh, wow, who is this? How do I even not feel this way about this anymore? And it is going to feel really tight and full of pressure. So remember that something is dying, new things are coming. It's a big time of change. If you feel like something feels wrong, something feels dead, something is decaying in a part of your life, it's time for that clearance. So use that time. Other big energy that's going on that people talk about and hate, and we've tried a lot on this podcast to dispel the hatred around Mercury retrograde. It's not the end of the world. It is not everything will be on fire, but maybe don't overcharge your devices, maybe back up your data, all of the things that there's enough of out there on the internet. But so Mercury retrograde has already started on the 10th of May. It's going to be with us till June 3rd. Again, to zoom out, Mercury retrograde happens almost every year. It happens 3 to 4 times in a calendar year. It is okay. We have survived many retrogrades. We can just prep ourselves. It's nothing to fear. It will happen. We will survive. We will be together. But just to remember that this particular theme of the last few retrogrades has been, so it's interesting, these retrogrades have been moving, Mercury has been moving, particularly from an air sign. Mercury is an air sign, and it's been moving from an air sign, so it's moving from a very happy, comfortable place to an earth sign, which is not its place. It's airy, flowy to a very heavy, grounded energy. So the themes that are coming up, particularly for this Mercury retrograde, is around self-worth and our personal value system. So how do you see yourself? How do you see a sense of self? How do you define yourself? A lot of people are taking lots of career decisions. Maybe they are redefining their relationships. Maybe they're looking at different aspects of their identity and they're questioning some things. The political order, the world we live in, is also making us question what identities we ascribe to, who we like, what boxes we put ourselves with, what boxes we put others into. So it is a time to reflect on a lot of that and see what's coming up. See why being, called a certain way, addressed a certain way, identified a certain way feels good or does not feel good. And what power of communication, in communication, there's technology, there's social media, there's fake news, there's all of that. How that same energy can be perverted to fuel up identities and personal value systems, and how the same thing can be used to bring things together. I think it's a really important time during this retrograde to really tap into it from a much more early level. So again, to remember that Mercury retrograde happens, we have survived that. Yes, please back up your data. Please make sure to double check emails and text messages. To be kind to yourself. If you miscommunicate, there are going to be lots of miscommunications. Over communicate if you need to, but also I think to take this time to be reflective of, who we are and how do we define those, especially in terms of otherness. How do we other people? And the last one, to sum it all up, is the big, energy shift that we're doing in the zodiac. We're moving down, we're growing older, we're moving from Taurus, which is, the earth energy, to light, fun, air energy, Gemini, loved by everybody, hated by everybody. They're sometimes called the gossip queens of the zodiac, but that's only because they get this terrible reputation because they're ruled by Mercury. So they're an air sign. They're about communication. So it's quite an interesting shift going from Mercury to retrograde, where we think like it's terrible time to be communicating, to go into the sign of Gemini, which is all about communication. So also to remember that that's happening, and I think when we speak to you again, we will really be in Gemini season. So we can also give longer on that. So yeah, those were the big astrological transits that are happening. Thank you. Akansha, Aarti.
Thank you so much, Rosh. That was a really exciting preparation for all that we're experiencing right now. And especially now that we're experiencing Mercury retrograde and we're going to go into Gemini season, where there's going to be a lot of communication. It feels like that time of reflection is going to allow us to uncover a lot of deep messages, and then we will be asked to share it. Very exciting to see how that goes.
And one of the other transits that are mention worthy is the Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, and it's moving signs and entering Aries, which is the first zodiac sign. And this one is about fiery passion, moving forward, creating new energy, and as a result, we're being pulled forward, we're being propelled forward. And as we are being called in a direction that we've always wanted to move towards, there is new visions, there are new ideas that we want to put into practice. At the same time, we feel the heaviness of the baggage we've been carrying as well. So you may notice some nagging pains, some recurring issues getting amplified. You might find the spotlight on it now and you will have to deal with it. And as you take care of those things and nurture yourself, slow down, or do something that you really wanted to do but you've been putting off, you'll notice that you'll move forward much faster than you thought you would. And as a result of the eclipses as well, we're finding ourselves in the right place at the right time. So it's a good time to do that little work that has a huge effect. The other things that I want to mention are the new moon in Gemini, which I feel will be a relief after the eclipses that we've had. And this will be the first new moon without any eclipse. And that's usually a time when we are able to gather ourselves. All that we are releasing right now as the moon wanes, make space for that new beginning where we can set intentions. And Gemini is the third sign, and it's connected to socializing, communication, siblings, the mind. Since it's an air sign, it's a mental, um, you know, accelerator. So we might find ourselves in a space where there's a lot of new ideas, we're really chatty, and Mercury will just go out of retrograde soon. So there's going to be that freedom to share whatever we've been reflecting on, and all the stories and ideas that have come up now. We'll be able to share it as we start the movement towards the Gemini new moon. And it's a good time to set intentions about what we want to share with the world, since Gemini rules the voice, and a good time to take care of your throat as well, and to really um, nourish not only your physical throat and your voice, but also your spiritual voice, your emotional voice, and allowing yourself to be seen and heard authentically. That might be one of the themes that comes up for us as a collective around the 30th of May. That's when the Gemini new moon is. And after that, we'll have the full moon in Sagittarius on the 14th of June, which personally is one of my favorites. It's a very expansive, very joyful full moon where we feel like all the possibilities are presented to us. It's for me a very celebrative full moon. Sagittarius is the sign of truth, of higher vision, of higher studies, of travel. And again, it's connected to Jupiter, which is about expansion and growth. So there's going to be a lot of positive frequencies, and the ability to see the good in the middle of chaos. So Sagittarius is a fire sign again, in the middle of Gemini season. So it will fuel all the ideas that we've been carrying, and it'll allow our thinking to really be grounded in positivity and light. So, really use that full moon that we have coming up. Yeah, and that's the astrological updates for now. But if you are somebody who understands astrology, who's interested in deepening your knowledge and understanding, um, it would be really useful, especially right now, to take your chart and understand the transits that you will be coming up with over the next few years. Like Akanksha was saying that she sat with her chart, and really understood over the next 3.5 years what are the aspects, especially with the major planets, checking if there are any oppositions or any conjunctions with your Saturn, with your Jupiter, with Uranus and Pluto. If there are certain transits that are up against your sun, it really has major themes and implications on your chart, and you can use it to navigate with more ease through your life. So that is a suggestion that we're leaving with you. And each of our charts are different. Each planets are placed differently in our charts. The planets are moving in different ways in the sky right now. And if you would like any help to decipher what it might mean for you, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to do a reading for you, to give you some insight about how you could approach the years to come or the months to come. And yeah, it would really help understand from your own perspective. And our intention is really to make you know your own chart, so that you are able to find the meaning that's empowering for you. And you don't need to rely on any external source that tells you that this is going to happen or that's going to happen. But you're like, okay, you know what? Uranus is in mine and moving through my North Node right now, and I'm going to expect major transformation. And we really want for you to feel that connected to astrology as a result of this podcast and our interactions.
I think that's enough for you to and for us to be able to go through the transits of this month. It's like we are in a global transit, which is like a longer transit of 30, 40 years. Then we have like the smaller transits of a few years, 3 years, 4 years. Then we have like even transits within transits. Yeah. So this month looks like we have we are riding a complete wave, you know. So we thought that it would be good to go into a little bit more of information around it. So, hello, friends. I'm going to talk about what is the message for this month for all of us here, all our earthly beings. So, all that is happening in the skies, the card that came out of the Mother Piece deck is you can see 6 of discs, and you can see a lot of earth energy over here. And it's very interesting because we've been drawing the same earth energy from the last month to this month. So what is it asking of us? It's an interesting image because there are two women and one woman is just lying down and the other one is as if using touch. Yeah, bodily touch. That's the image. And then they're surrounded by these 6 discs. Each has a kind of a symbol imprinted on it. But what this card primarily is trying to tell us is to come back to a place of rest. Yeah, to come back to a place of exchange. See, like body through touch is also an exchange of energy. On a very physical level, it's also meaningful contact, making that contact with each other. It's also tender, it's also care. Yeah. And the earth energy around it is also around what just Rosh mentioned. It's about money, it's about resources, it's about finances, it's about food, it's about what we do with our resources. Do we have enough resources? It's about service also. And or touch. Yeah, so this theme of touch kind of continues from the last month also. It is a very physical and a very tangible card if you see what it's talking about during this time. Now, imagine if you receive a touch that is tender, that is contactful, that is meaningful, and that is done with care. It has an healing effect. So, this is also a time of healing. Yeah. What it is talking about here is that there are two people involved in this healing process. Yeah, there is a giver and there is a receiver. So when a person gives the gift of healing, it also comes back and it also heals the one who's giving. It's also bringing us back to this circularity of giving and receiving and moving out of the paradigm of consumption, consumerism, yeah, and fear based kind of hoarding or running after resources to just accumulate them. But if you give, you will also receive in that giving. That's what it is trying to tell. So this is very much on the physical plane. Now, what can be the message on the etheric side of it? In the ethers, that's the another level. See, when a person is touching another person or they are in close vicinity of each other, they are also passing on energy, which we cannot see with our eyes, but it works in a very invisible way to heal the body and to also heal the soul. So it's also bringing this, or even I would say, like expanding the idea of healing into a very energetic realm. Yeah. What else do we see? We also see a very meditative, grounded kind of a effect of this card. It is asking us to get in touch with our power and to trust our power and to use it for good. So it's also pulling it out of the shadows, you know, pulling out our power from the shadows, pulling us out of feeling like we are being victimized, feeling like we are at the receiving end of things. Yeah. So that's also another thing that this card can teach us. And it says that this is the secret of success. This kind of an exchange, where the giver and the receiver are in a circle of passing and taking from each other, in a circle that is healing for both. in a circle where power is put to good use, and this power is passed from one body to another as a gift. This is what it is inviting us to step into. That's the message.
Thanks for sharing that, Akanksha. It really resonates with also the cards that I pulled. I pulled friendliness, which is such a similar energy because we can see two trees with all their foliage like completely intertwined. And I'm sure their root systems are also connected underground. And they're different colors, they are close by, and they're still connected. So there's so much to understand. Like they're both shedding leaves. They're also the leaves are changing, and they're doing it together. So it really feels like moving through a transition, knowing that there are friends and people who love us around us. Like the card is also called friendliness, the Two of Cups, and it's a water sign. So again, the Scorpio energy. It's a reminder that our emotions and our feelings need to be taken care of and need to be nurtured and given some space. And we have the card sorrow, Three of Swords, yeah. And it's the card where the heart is being pierced with swords, yeah. So it does feel very painful, yet it is a cloud that's being pierced and it's not as gory as we think. So it's a reminder that yes, we may be going through an experience that is really challenging, and we also have the ability to see it from a distance and find the part of us that is truly anchored and strong and powerful and beyond these challenges that we're experiencing. And there may be storms, there may be chaos, and there is a part of us that is unwavering and almighty and powerful. And at the other side of it, there is also this part of us that is still yearning, still growing, still evolving, and knows that we need to still put in an effort to building whatever it is that we want to see. On the other side, we are all creating, we are all being guided in different directions, and our paths are just being uncovered in front of us. So that part is also actively seeking answers, is wanting to move forward. And how can we give that part of us the reins to take us in new directions while remembering that we are doing this together and giving space to the grief that we are going through, maybe of the old parts of us that are crumbling and dying, because the Scorpio full moon is a time of letting go and releasing completely all the things that have been blooming and growing for the last 6 months. And like Rosh said, also since 2003, there's a lot of things that we've realized that have served their time and now they're ready to go. And we have the card possibilities. And right now, it really feels like from January onwards up until now, and let's say even December when we started the podcast up until now, there's really been a change where we were in the dark and we were like, yeah, you know what, there's something going on. And we were changing. And there was a time when we went really inward and we were trying to find who we are and who we're becoming, and taking our time to build those foundations, find our feet on the ground, find each other's hands and hold them. And now it really feels like we're walking forward and we're not tripping, we're not falling, and we're like, whoa, we're stronger together. And this is real and this is happening. So we don't know yet where we're headed, what's going to happen, or how it's going to happen, but we know that it is happening. So we're in that phase right now where, again, like Rosh said, she really summarized it well. Yes, you may know that something needs to happen through you, but you don't know what, and that's okay. This is not the time to do. It's the time to just be, so that whatever needs to happen, happens. Also, eclipse portals are a time where fated events just take place and bring you to the right place at the right time. So just allowing it. Also, I'm personally noticing that this is payback time for many of us. All the things we've been dreaming of and really wishing for are actually happening. So while you may feel like, yes, you need to tend to some of the woundings, some of the pain, or just needing rest, also make time for gratitude, for realizing that it's important to really be aware of just who you've become as a result of all the effort you've been putting in and the seeds you've been sowing in the past. And I'm going to hand it over to Akanksha now because it's a kind of like very seamlessly flow into what we're about to share next.
No.
All right. So sounds like we've already packed up a lot, and just check with yourself how you are doing, how you're feeling. Take a deep breath out. Whew. Yes. And remember that we are here together in the circle, from far, from near. Remember that those gestures and people who bring friendliness into your life at this time. Yeah. Hmm. And then we can go into some of very physical, very everyday stuff that it all this can start translating into, or how it is felt and experienced while we are living our everyday life, attending to our jobs, doing the work we need to do, sleeping, eating, struggling, celebrating, mourning, breaking our hearts, joining our hearts, all of those very human conditions that we live in. I think one of the important aspects of this time, if you will see that eclipse are portals where you can experience time and timelessness at the same time. And you may be presented with a lot of difficulties, but also invited to make different choices at this time. That, okay, my old patterns coming up. This has happened to me before. My God, I identify it. I know how this is going to feel, how this is going to end. Yeah. Can I make a different choice at this time? So eclipse also brings us that. Now, when we do that, we often talk about, multidimensionality on this podcast. We've used words like 3D and 5D. Yeah. We've talked about like these timelines. So when that choice is presented to us, yeah, and we use that choice, you will feel like, oops, I just didn't think about this. Could be so simple. Why didn't it occur to me? I would have done it before. So you're going through a quantum kind of a leap. You've jumped into another time and space in that moment. Yeah. You've shifted the frequency, as Devanjali just mentioned. Yeah. So this would also be happening, and it can feel a little like, woof, you know, am I like, getting disoriented or what? Yeah. And then it also would take, what Rosh was saying, something needs to let go. So here the pattern of letting go can come in. Something new is coming. I don't know what it is. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. So when you're going through this kind of time leap, that can also be you can experience time leap like that. Yeah. Aarti and Rosh, just pitch in where you feel like.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add one thing which came when you had that wonderful expression. So, there is this Zen story in which there is this Zen saying that pause for your soul needs to catch up. So I feel eclipse is also that time, you know, before you transit what you have lived and for it to let go. Uh, the soul, is on a journey, but it pauses, however you want to personalize pause, that's open to your expression and interpretation. But yeah, pause. And I will very quickly, not taking too much time, I'll just quickly, there are these postcard sort of series that I've been doing for the last 2 months. So I just want to, I don't know how much will be visible. These are two bodies, and that's the earth. And there is actually there's the shadow of the earth, which is full of the third eye. So it's the consciousness, you know. And to these two overlapping people, you'll see there are certain flowers, some colored with gold, some empty and all. So I am not doing an interpretation. I never do. It's open to interpretation. But what I want to say here is also from the tarot card. So I just picked that drawing because to me it was like, um, this is also about intimacy. I want to bring in that word, and devoid of gender, so intimacy in friendship, and how intimacy supports or holds space uh, between two people, but you and the universe and what is happening, that it's a, I want to say thread. It's a thread, how the intimacy weaves, and to ponder on, like, if it's a transiting time, uh, what is friendship or intimacy for you from here on, right? How newly can that happen? And as she had mentioned, a lot is about hands, so it's that balance of give and take. So yeah, just wanted to bring that in. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you. Like we have started to weave in, I guess. I feel like that. Started to pick up the threads from the reading, started to pick up the threads from the personal experiences. Um, and we are also talking about what are the possibilities, the card that Arti showed, like, Devanshi talked about those possibilities also somewhere. Yeah. There's another theme that we have noticed that is coming up is of fear. You know, it's like almost we are, if you have to look at a spectrum, on one end you will find a lot of existential fears, dilemmas, dreads that have come up during this time, even in dreams. Yeah, like you can have bodily shaking experience also. And it's like, what the hell is happening? What's going on here? Why is my head hurting? So much, like headaches, and you can have bodily somaticized experiences of all of this. And we often wonder, like, okay, if this is where I am, this is what is happening to me. Yeah. Is there a kind of an antidote to it? What's that feel like in this time? Can I feel my fear but not get sucked
Drowned.
and, like, yeah, drown inside it? Yeah. How is that going to look like? What can I do about that? How can I um, not get so pulled and drowned that I get into thinkings of harm or acts of harm, or, like, war, or like suicidal thoughts, so there is also that part that can keep taking us. And then the other end of the spectrum is also the ability to love, ability to find love for ourselves in those most bizarrely unexpected moments, of supreme fear. So that's another thing that you can go through. And it almost feels like, oh my God, I'm jumping from one emotion in the morning, and I've gone to, like, thinking about there is no point, better to, like, leave everything. Maybe I will just do something to myself, and going to other end of, like, life is beautiful. So much of generosity in my life. So you can have that kind of experience and you're not going mad, is what I'm trying to say here. You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So intensity can be experienced in very profound ways, very visceral ways during this time.
I think one of the important things to be aware of during this time when we are going through major transits like the eclipse portal, that these are also doorways of initiation, of awakening, of ending of cycles. So, as much as it is about when will this time get over, how do I just sort of like, go through it, these times also present us with very uh, important insights. You know, in fact, you can very much make very critical um, choices of what you don't want anymore. Like, your soul is really speaking to you. Yeah. And you can, so an important thing to do during this time is to own what is really shown to you, to us. Yeah. To really see what is being presented to us. Yeah. So, oh my God, this is so hard, this is so tough, and I'm falling down and I'm breaking down. Yes, this is the time that this would happen. It is. Yeah. And then we go into, oh, when will it get over? When will I be out of it? Oh my God, I just want to get over with it. But what have we missed? The present, which is right here in front of us, you know. So we got to really slow ourselves and become present here. So the themes of your life, would be given to you. So this is one of the important things to keep in mind when we are going through eclipse time. What are the major themes of this time, this cycle? Would be personal to each person. At the same time, I think resources, money, yeah, how we think about money, how we interact with money, fears, collective worries, where does greed come in? If we wouldn't judge those things, what it would be if I could be free with my money, if money could freely flow in and out of life, what is that going to be like? How can I let myself really imagine money working for me? So things like that. Money can also be in terms of resources, in terms of land, in terms of your assets. Yeah, that's there. Another thing is, I think, fears, lot of fears that have been plaguing us, and we've been going through it over and over again. So to ask ourselves that, have I been making choices in my life out of being scared, out of being very worried, and finding myself in the same spot again and again? If that's a kind of a cycle that you can identify, then this is a good time to release it, to really surrender to what's to come, what is being asked of you, so that you are more and more aligned to be doing and to be living the purpose for which you are here. And purpose is not like one time goal, it's as much as you come in alignment with your core, with your connection with your own source. Yeah, the purpose keeps revealing itself to you. It's like a homecoming.
because there were so many things that came up for me while I was listening to you. And when you were talking about the being in the present, I remembered how, over the last few days after the eclipse, I'm having flashbacks of memories from my past where I have been disempowered, where I've been hurt, or I have hurt others, and I'm getting caught up in either the pain or the fear or the anger. And there's another part of me that's thinking about the future and what I want to do and how I want to do it and all the things I'm capable of and how excited I am about it or how confused I am about how to make it happen. While I am experiencing a lot of those past stories and narratives, I'm also able to project into the future and say, okay, those things may have happened, and as a result, I'm where I am. And there are all these different ways that I can act, respond, or react. And how am I going to be in each moment until I'm presented with those choices? And who am I while I make those choices? And like all our practice, all our self work is important right now because whatever we've done, or whatever we've committed to, in this moment it might not feel very clear because eclipses really, shake things up. So it's hard for us to really be like, okay, what's going on. So it's important to remember that when we are given these choices, we're stepping into a place of sovereignty, of truth, the highest version of truth, the best possible timeline for us in this moment, in a way that is surrendered. Because, yes, I know what's best for me, and the universe also has a plan. So, how are we holding both the things? How are we joyfully moving forward, knowing that we are in total alignment with the highest timelines of light, and that we are in service to the divine, and that we are doing everything that we can and surrendering to our purpose, which, like Akanksha said, is in each moment. It's not a goal, it keeps evolving, it's dynamic. And yeah, I just felt like sharing this because it's come up really strongly post eclipse for me to keep aligning, remembering that. And in each moment, when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning, um, it's in those moments of really being in the present moment and allowing ourselves to be taken up by the present moment. Like Akanksha said, it just like when you said that like earlier, it really made me feel like, yes, that is the practice. It also came up in the tarot. It's been coming up in the tarot. We've been getting a lot of earth signs reminding us to be in the moment, no matter how mundane, because at this point, that is as spiritual as it gets. Also, quoting a bit and bringing in a bit of the movies that are coming up right now. We just watched Doctor Strange, and uh, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I would recommend it, and it does talk about multidimensionality, and it's so visual, and just a reminder that all that we have control over is this moment, right now, this version of us, and how we're going to make choices based on who we believe we truly are. And just wondering, Akanksha, if you want to add to something that I just said and talk a bit about, how to regulate ourselves also, when we have a very big emotion and understanding that and really regulating so that we can act from a space of groundedness and choice.
Yeah. In fact, I just want to connect it with the movie, you know, the girl who has the gift of being able to move across dimensions. Yeah. It's like it's embodied in her being and she doesn't know how she does it. And it was very interesting that it's fear that opens the portal for her. And it's the fear of the fear that stops us from like really owning our gift. Yeah. So it's interesting that fear is not bad in itself. It's how we look at fear. Yeah. So same thing is with our emotions, with our feelings, what meaning we give it to them. The other thing that really stood out in that was that how she had to practice her gift to achieve a kind of mastery on she she has the ability, she knows she can use it. She's already using it. She doesn't know how, but then she finds the right place to kind of like sharpen it, you know, and come into her own, let her own power shine through her, not just coming into her power. She has the power, right? So this is also something for each one of us. Like, we are born with our wounds. If the eclipse shows us our wounds, the eclipse also, when we have sort of worked through them, you will also find the gifts that show up. And our gifts scare us more than our wounds. And that was a very strong message from what I saw in that movie. Yeah. To really own that gift and then diligently work towards refining it and letting it shine through us. It serves us, it serves our purpose, it serves us being here, why we are here. Yeah,
Yeah, I love how you explained it and how you, like, your takeaway from the film. And while you were saying that, it also reminded me of some other shows and movies that really capture this so beautifully. And I rewatched some of them just now, just to anchor myself in this. Almost feels like a new way of living, right? Like this might have been myth, this might have been some kind of like, ooh, fiction, but it's real, in this moment. It's my experience. And not everybody might experience it. Some people might never experience it. Some people might feel it in their own way, but it's always interesting to play around with it, be curious, and say, okay, where do I relate? Maybe I don't. But the shows that came to mind are The Gift, because you said the word gift so many times. The Gift is a really powerful show. It's a Turkish show if you want to check it out. Also talks about multidimensionality and in a different way. Also like holds the mother wound and the childhood trauma as a central theme. And then there is Everything Everywhere All at Once. If I'm not sure, I just watched it, and it's about the same thing. It's a new movie. And yeah, so there are a lot of, and Sense8. How can I forget Sense8? I'm pretty sure a lot of you have watched it. And when we watch these things, we can understand that our existence has kind of expanded in some way, where we're able to realize that we are this person, and there are so many possibilities that we're always engaging with. And how can we be more cognizant of it? How can we understand the connection between our psyche and our psychology, our upbringing and our makeup, as well as our spiritual existence? And yeah, who knew that we would look up to sci-fi and action movies to really understand this? Yeah, so that was something we were really excited to share with you guys. Another thing um, was about the star seed energy. And during the month of May, around the Taurus new moon, our sun usually aligns with the Pleiades constellation, and it's believed in many ancient scriptures and um, schools of thought that the Pleiades is home to an advanced species of life, and that they are supporting Earth in our evolution and raising of consciousness. So around this time, a lot of us could feel highly sensitive, receive a lot of visions and messages around our purpose, around who we are, around what we are being called to do. So if you are feeling inspired through your dreams, through spontaneous visions, or just insights, it doesn't have to necessarily be like, oh, I received an insight. It can be simple and received through even sensing, or like having synchronicity, or looking at a word and being like, oh, there's something there, and just allowing yourself to receive guidance on what's possible, what is it for you that's coming through from the Pleiadian family that you may have or may not have, and that's okay. But yeah, just to be open.
yeah, absolutely. And if you want to see how humans want to understand this, you can go and watch the movie Arrival, you know, yeah, in that you can experience the mature feminine, which is embodied by the uh, female character. You can see that even the male character embodies it, and you can also see that what do we mean by a higher race or a superior race, and what can it what can it look like in our imagination, and see what clicks to you from that. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for making me watch it. It was really a brilliantly made film.
do reach out to us with your messages or your questions. Even in the comments you can put it in the Instagram or you can put it in YouTube. Yeah. We would be really interested to know how you are making sense of your own times, what you would like to hear more. You want more details about something, or you would want us to expand on some other topics. Yeah. We want this to be both podcast about what are these times we are in. We also want it to be very relevant to you in your lives, in your everyday lives. So let us know.
It would be really lovely for you guys to engage with us, share with us what's coming up. If anything resonated, we'd love to know. And I also want to tell you about something really exciting that Akanksha and Sonika are hosting as part of Parijat. They're doing a flow game for 2 days, the 27th and the 28th in Bangalore. That's the coming weekend. And it's going to be for people to come together and really talk about relationships, sexuality, and our bodies. I think this is a topic that we all speak about in a hushed way, maybe with our close friends. But when was the last time you really sat with somebody and witnessed them talking about a story about their bodies and about their relationships and their intimate experiences from a space of vulnerability and really reclaiming that beautiful aspect of that relationship or their connection with themselves. And I feel like it's going to be really much needed and a very cozy and safe space. So if any of you are interested, please feel free to reach out to Akanksha. And I know I would have loved to be there, and I'm feeling sad that I can't make it, but I know that they're going to do many more of these things. And it's also going to happen in Pune, and that is on the 11th and 12th of June. So if you're going to be around Mumbai or Pune, please feel free to just reach out and register, because it's important to us that we meet. We do this thing digitally and there is this, buzz and this connection, but it's when we actually meet and feel that in person interaction that I feel that the work can expand, and the ripple effects of this online community that we've created can continue after being indoors for so long. We felt like it was really important to meet even after the eclipse and record these bits and kind of reflection and integration for all of you, because before the eclipse we were also in the dark about things, and now we're like, oh, but this and this. So we really wanted to take this time, even though it's been a few more days. For us, our process is really more important than the podcast. Our personal relationships with each other, our own reflections around the transits, and it's only after we kind of create that within that we share it. So thank you for being patient with us and for listening to us and our digested insights. I hope that you are all taking care of yourselves and are integrating whatever may have shown up for you. And yeah, we'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Lots of love. Rest well, sleep well, and eat well.